In 1942, 3 police officers in Honolulu received a desperate call from a woman screaming about her children being attacked. When they got to the house, they expected to find a domestic dispute, maybe a burglary. But what they walked into would leave one of them so shaken, he would quit the force entirely. And it wasn't the first time something horrific had happened in that house. In fact, this home in Kaimuki, the quiet neighborhood just outside Waikiki, had been whispered about for years, long before Hawaii had ever become a U.S. state. The house in question sat on the corner of 8th Avenue and Harding Street in Honolulu. And to passerbys, it looked like any other island home, modest, shaded by palms, the scent of salt water drifting on the trade winds. But to locals, this place had a reputation. They say it was cursed. The earliest known reports of strange activity in the house date back to the 1920s. But the story that truly locked it into legend happened 2 decades ago and was witnessed by uniformed police. It was late summer of 1942, just months after the Pearl Harbor attack, and tensions in Hawaii were sky high. Military curfews were in effect, patrols were constant, but none of that could stop what happened inside the Kaimuki House. A mother living there called the Honolulu Police Department in hysterics. She claimed that her 3 teenage children were being attacked by an unseen force and that her son was choking. Her daughter had been flung across the room and furniture was moving on its own. 3 officers arrived and entered the home. And they didn't even get their report books out because as soon as they stepped inside, they heard something. Breathing. But it wasn't human. It was wet, guttural, like something trying to mimic a person. And then suddenly, one of the daughters was yanked off the ground right in front of them. The air turned ice cold. All 3 officers saw her lift off the floor, her hands clutching at her throat, choking, gasping for air, and then slam down into the wall. Terrified, the officers tried to intervene, but the source of the attack couldn't be seen. All they could do was grab the kids and evacuate the house. That night, one of the officers resigned. He would later say it wasn't just the attack, it was the voice. A voice that he heard whisper something to him in a language that he didn't even recognize from directly behind his ear, while standing alone in an empty hallway. The family moved out shortly after that, but that wasn't the end. More tenants came and went. In fact, nobody ever seemed to last more than a few weeks. The disturbances continued. Rapping sound, shadows screaming in the night, cold spots, and one consistent theme. Something lurking in the branches of the old mango tree in the backyard. Hawaiian elders and Japanese families in the neighborhood began to suspect that what they believed was the true culprit, Kasha. In Japanese folklore, a Kasha is a type of fire demon or corpse-stealing spirit, usually seen as a cat-like entity that snatches the bodies of the dead and devours them. But in some versions, the Kasha is more sinister. It doesn't just eat the corpses, it drags their soul to hell. It's said the spirit was summoned decades earlier, possibly by someone who practiced dark rituals in the house. And others say the Kasha had attached itself to a body hidden under the home. There's a rumor, and it's never been proven, that a man killed his wife, his children, and his lover inside that house and buried them in pieces beneath the mango tree. And even though it's never been confirmed, people swear that when it rains hard in Kaimuki, the tree's roots bleed. Another family moved into the Kaimuki House, this time a single mother and her 2 daughters. They were quiet, they kept to themselves, but one night, the woman ran to a neighbor's house in a panic, screaming that her daughters were fighting something invisible. When the neighbors arrived, the scene was pure chaos. Windows broken from the inside, the front door locked shut, and both daughters inside screaming. They were being scratched, slapped, and pinned to the floor. But nothing. The family fled that night. They never went back for their belongings. Over time, the house became so infamous that no one wanted to live there, and realtors couldn't sell it. Tourists took photos from across the street, but locals would cross the road just to avoid walking near it. And to get even darker, every time a new owner would cut the mango tree back in the yard, just trim it, something bad would happen. One man was hospitalized. One family's house down the road burned down days later. Another owner who tried to cut it down completely was found dead in his bathtub 2 weeks later. Cause of death? Unknown. Eventually, the city ordered the house to be demolished, and it was. But the tree is still there. Today, if you walk along the 8th Avenue in Kaimuki, you won't find the original haunted house that was there, but that structure is gone, and in its place is a newer home. Modern, quiet, unassuming. But if you look into the backyard, there's still that old mango tree. And according to people living nearby, that new house, it doesn't stay rented long. Owners flip it, tenants leave suddenly, and strange things still get reported. Lights turning on by themselves, voices in the kitchen, and children talking to a lady in white with no eyes. So what was it? A Kasha? A poltergeist? An urban legend that fed on itself? Whatever it is, it shook Rome police officers. It tore families apart. And it made an entire neighborhood too afraid to say a single address out loud. Because even if you tear the house down, you can't dig out a curse, especially not if its roots deep. And maybe that's why when you go into these abandoned houses, you still see every damn thing in the house. They probably left for a reason. So, yeah, get the heck out. Alright guys, this was my version of what I found on the Kaimuki House. So scary, so scary. Go dig and do your own research, like I always say. And I hope you enjoyed my version. I will see you next time on Tales Told in the Dark.